Welcome to a brief introductory lecture on sociological thinking, as well as a key concept in sociology, which is the sociological imagination. So first off, I'd like to begin with a general discussion of some of the basic ideas involved in sociology and sociological inquiry. This may be the first class that you have ever taken within the sociological discipline. Maybe you've taken other sociology courses. Either way, I think it's beneficial to have a brief kind of discussion around some of the basic ideas involved in sociological thought. So I get this question, quite often. Folks will ask me, "What do you do?" This is, kind of a standard question when you reach a certain age in our society. They don't mean, what do you do for fun or what are your interests? The question is, really around your profession and your career. So then I, of course, answer that I'm a sociologist, or sometimes I might say I'm an educator or a professor or instructor, something like that. But if I do say sociologist, often the, kind of follow-up question is, well, what is that? Is it, are you a social worker? Are you a socialist? I think there's some of my relatives still think that I am one of those two things. But of course, sociology is distinct from social work and socialism. Of course, social work is an applied academic discipline. Social workers use a lot of sociological theory and sociological research to inform their practice. Socialism is something that we look at as sociologists. It's not necessarily a political affiliation that is directly related to the discipline, although maybe there are some sociologists who are socialists, but there are, I'm sure, plenty of sociologists who are affiliated with other political ideologies. So, I am neither of those things. I am a sociologist, and sociology is an academic discipline, and sociologists are practicing that academic discipline, namely by applying empirical methods to the study of social patterns. So, sociologists were using the scientific method, we're using statistical tools, research methodologies that are informed by theory to study social phenomena, social patterns. The key there is patterns. If there is no pattern, we don't have a lot of work to do as sociologists. So for instance, if we're thinking about a social condition, say that condition is poverty, right? Poverty is defined in the United States as having an income below federally defined thresholds. So an individual might have to have an income below $11,500 annually in order to be technically classified as in poverty and be eligible for public assistance. So if we take that, social condition, poverty, which unfortunately is quite prevalent in the United States. Poverty rates, well, prior to some of the recent disruptions with the COVID-19 crisis and other related kind of economic phenomenon, poverty rates were declining a bit, so we're at around 13%, but that still means tens of millions of Americans are in poverty. And of course, that condition is not randomly distributed. If it were not related to aspects of social background like race or gender or ethnicity, religious affiliation, geographic location, immigration status, then we could say that poverty is just a kind of randomly distributed condition. It depends on individual agency and merit, and really doesn't have much to do with social structure or society. But, in fact, as many of you are already aware, poverty is not randomly distributed. It is related to factors of identity. For instance, Black Americans show poverty rates in the United States of about 3 times their white counterparts. Trying to attribute that to individual factors is not going to be a very successful pursuit, or very fruitful pursuit, I should say. In fact, it's probably much more productive to look at social factors that cause higher rates of poverty in certain groups than others. So when we see a pattern, if we see that poverty rates are 3 times as high in one population group, then we endeavor to study that using scientific methodologies as sociologists. We, of course, are not just relying upon methodologies and statistics. Those methodologies and those statistics are informed by social theory, sociological theory. I do say social theory here because many of the theories that we examine are shared by other social scientific disciplines. So there has been a call for a kind of de-siloization, if we can use that term, to um, uh, the social scientific disciplines. So this kind of breaking apart uh, of the individual disciplines that we see today. So psychology, sociology, economics, history, sometimes philosophy is included in there as well. That those could actually be combined. That we're all essentially relying upon the same foundational theories. We're just using them in different ways, and combining the social scientific disciplines into a unified discipline is something that there has been some movement towards. But nevertheless, we are still practicing sociology as a distinct academic discipline today, and we're relying upon theories like those developed by Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels or Emil Durkheim and many others to explore social phenomena. Additionally, sociology is a discipline that is particularly interested in the interplay between society and the individual. This means that we're not only focused on how society kind of affects the individual and individual outcomes, but we're also interested in how individuals influence society. So, I think many of us are aware that what happens in a broader society affects our lives as individuals. And maybe we're less aware in some cases that as individuals, we also affect what happens in society. So, we're not only kind of subject to social forces, we also have some agency there to influence social forces and to change society. This can happen through individual action, collective action, and in various other ways.